Have you ever sat down to a nice piece of fish, thinking you were doing something good for your heart? For decades, we've been told, eat more fish. It keeps your arteries clean and your brain sharp. But what if that simple advice has been quietly betraying millions of people over 60? Here's the truth few doctors ever say out loud. Not every fish is your friend. Some, yes, the same ones stacked neatly in grocery freezers and served at family dinners, can slowly thicken your blood, strain your heart, and raise your stroke risk overnight. According to the American Heart Association, more than 800,000 Americans experience a stroke each year, and in adults past 60, one of the most overlooked triggers isn't sugar or red meat. It's the wrong kind of fish. That's because certain species carry mercury, excess sodium, or industrial pollutants that quietly inflame your arteries while you sleep. You wake up thinking you just need coffee, when in fact, your circulation has been fighting all night to keep up. In the next few minutes, we'll uncover 9 common fish that can silently sabotage your heart and brain, and we'll also show you the safe, clean choices that truly protect your health after 60. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which fish belong on your plate and which might be stealing years from your life without you even realizing it. Fish number 1, farmed salmon. The healthy fish that's quietly hurting your heart. For years, salmon has been the golden child of heart health. Doctors recommend it. Nutritionists praise it. Seniors grill it, bake it, and enjoy it faithfully, believing they're protecting their heart and brain with every bite. But here's what most people don't realize. Not all salmon is created equal. And the type you'll find most often in grocery stores today, farmed salmon, may be doing far more harm than good. Let's look beneath the surface. Farmed salmon are raised in huge pens, often packed shoulder to shoulder in artificial ponds or coastal cages. Instead of feeding on their natural diet of plankton and small fish, they're given processed pellets made from grains, soy, and fish oil. This unnatural diet changes the fish itself, right down to its fat composition and color. Compared to wild-caught salmon, farmed salmon contains up to 5 times more omega-6 fats, the same inflammatory fats linked to artery stiffness and high blood pressure. They also have higher levels of saturated fat, which can quietly raise LDL, the bad cholesterol that builds plaque in your blood vessels. And that's not the worst part. Because farmed salmon are raised in controlled environments, the water and feed often contain persistent industrial pollutants, chemicals like PCBs and dioxins that have been banned for decades but still linger in the environment. These toxins accumulate in the fatty tissue of the fish, and when you eat them regularly, they begin to accumulate in you. According to environmental health perspectives, PCB levels in farmed salmon are up to 8 times higher than in wild salmon. Another report by the European Food Safety Authority warned that frequent consumption could increase long-term risks of cardiovascular disease, cognitive decline, and even certain cancers. I once met a patient named Richard, 67, who switched to eating salmon 3 times a week after his doctor told him it was the best protein for your heart. But when his blood work came back 6 months later, his inflammatory markers were higher, not lower. The culprit? He'd been buying the discounted farmed salmon, bright pink fillets labeled color added. When he switched to wild-caught Alaskan salmon, his inflammation levels dropped, his energy improved, and his blood pressure stabilized. The truth is simple. Salmon itself isn't the problem, the source is. If you want to keep salmon on your plate safely, choose wild-caught Alaskan salmon, especially sockeye or coho. These live in clean, cold waters with naturally lower toxin levels. Avoid farmed Atlantic salmon, especially those labeled color-added. The pink hue often comes from synthetic dyes, not nature. Limit salmon to 1 to 2 servings per week, enough for benefits, without accumulating pollutants. And if you enjoy smoked salmon, Make sure it's wild-caught and low in sodium, since most smoked farm varieties are salt-heavy, another hidden trigger for high blood pressure. The bottom line? Salmon can be one of the best or worst foods for your heart, depending entirely on where it comes from. So the next time you see that perfectly pink fillet at the supermarket, take a closer look at the label. If it says farmed, do your heart a favor and leave it behind. Fish number 2. Tilapia, the light fish that secretly feeds inflammation. Walk into almost any supermarket in America, and you'll see it, stacks of clean, pale fillets labeled tilapia. It's affordable, mild in flavor, and cooks in minutes. For many older adults, it feels like the perfect, light dinner, low in calories, low in fat, and easy on digestion. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Tilapia is one of the most misleading foods on the market. Behind its reputation as a heart-healthy fish lies a serious problem that most people over 60 never hear about. A problem that can quietly inflame your arteries and raise your risk of stroke. Nearly all tilapia sold in the US today is farmed, not wild-caught. And most of it comes from enormous industrial fish farms overseas, places where the fish are raised in shallow, crowded ponds with thousands of others. The water quality is often poor. And the diet? A mix of corn, soy, and sometimes animal byproducts, foods that no fish would ever eat in the wild. This unnatural lifestyle changes everything about the fish, its texture, its nutrients, even its chemistry. Instead of being rich in omega-3 fatty acids, the kind that protect your heart, farm tilapia is packed with omega-6 fats, which promote inflammation. In fact, research shows that the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 in tilapia can reach 11 to 1, worse than many fried meats or processed foods. That imbalance is a hidden danger for older adults. Omega-6 fats make your blood stickier and your arteries less flexible, two major ingredients for stroke and heart disease. A study from Wake Forest University School of Medicine made this clear. In terms of inflammatory potential, farm tilapia is worse than eating a hamburger or bacon. For seniors trying to lower cholesterol and blood pressure, that's a devastating irony. You think you're choosing something light and clean, but your body reads it as a heavy, inflammatory food. And that's not all. Because of poor farming conditions, tilapia often contains trace amounts of antibiotics, pesticides, and heavy metals from contaminated ponds. These residues can strain your liver and increase oxidative stress, silent inflammation that builds up over time. I once worked with a woman named Linda, 72, who ate tilapia 3 or 4 times a week because it was easy and inexpensive. She baked it, grilled it, even added it to salads. But when her blood work came back, her triglycerides were high and her inflammation markers were off the charts. When she switched to wild-caught salmon and sardines, her numbers improved within months, and she told me, "I had no idea the cheapest fish was costing me my health." The takeaway? Tilapia gives the illusion of health while quietly fueling the very inflammation you're trying to avoid. If you truly want a clean, light fish that supports your heart, choose wild-caught cod, haddock, or pollock, mild in flavor but naturally rich in omega-3s. Try wild trout or Alaskan salmon once or twice a week for anti-inflammatory benefits. Always check labels. If it doesn't say wild-caught, it's almost certainly farmed. The bottom line is this. Tilapia might save you a few dollars at the store, but it could cost you years of heart health down the road. Fish number 3, canned tuna, the hidden stroke risk sitting in your pantry. For decades, canned tuna has been a symbol of convenience and health. It's quick, inexpensive, and often marketed as a heart-healthy protein. Many older adults keep a few cans in the pantry for an easy lunch, a tuna sandwich, a salad topping, or a light dinner with crackers. But here's what most people don't realize. Not all tuna is safe for your heart, and eating the wrong kind too often can quietly increase your stroke risk. Let's start with the biggest danger, mercury. Tuna, especially larger species like albacore or white tuna, naturally accumulate mercury, a toxic heavy metal that builds up in the body over time. Unlike other toxins, mercury doesn't just pass through your system. It settles in your tissues, particularly in your brain, heart, and blood vessels, where it can stay for months, even years. Once there, mercury begins to damage the delicate inner lining of your arteries, known as the endothelium. That damage makes your blood vessels stiffer and less flexible, increasing blood pressure and making it easier for plaque to form. It also disrupts electrical signaling in your heart and interferes with the flow of oxygen to your brain, two direct pathways to stroke. A major study in the New England Journal of Medicine found that people with higher mercury levels in their blood had a 60% higher risk of dying from heart-related causes, even if they ate fish regularly. Now, you might be thinking, but I only eat tuna once or twice a week. That sounds safe, but here's the catch. Mercury accumulates in your body. And as we age, our detox systems naturally slow down. That means even small amounts, consumed consistently over time, can build up to harmful levels. Then comes the sodium problem. Most canned tuna, especially those packed in oil or brine, contain 300 to 500 milligrams of sodium per serving, nearly a quarter of your daily limit in one small can. If you mix it with mayonnaise, pickles, or processed bread, as most people do, that sodium load skyrockets, putting your heart under serious strain at the exact time it needs rest. I once spoke with George, a 70-year-old retired teacher, who proudly told me he'd replaced red meat with tuna sandwiches for lunch every day. When his blood pressure spiked and his doctor tested his mercury levels, they were 3 times higher than normal. George thought he was protecting his heart, but his arteries were quietly under siege. The good news is, you don't need to give up tuna completely. You just need to eat it smarter. Here's how. Choose light tuna packed in water, not oil or brine. It usually comes from smaller fish like skipjack, which have much lower mercury levels. Read the label carefully. Look for no salt added or low sodium versions. Limit canned tuna to once every 2 weeks, especially the albacore or white varieties. Rotate your protein sources. Alternate tuna with sardines, wild-caught salmon, or mackerel for cleaner omega-3s and fewer toxins. The bottom line? Canned tuna might seem like a healthy, affordable choice, but over time, it can quietly poison your arteries, thicken your blood, and stress your brain. So before you open that next can, take a moment to check the label and remind yourself. A simple swap today could mean a stronger heart and a sharper mind for years to come. Fish number 4, swordfish, the luxury choice that's loaded with hidden toxins. For many people, swordfish feels like a treat, thick, meaty, and elegant. You'll see it featured on restaurant menus as a premium seafood option, often grilled to perfection and praised as a lean, high-protein choice for the heart. But beneath its clean, white flesh lies a hidden danger that few people, especially those over 60, ever hear about. Swordfish is one of the most contaminated fish in the ocean. And for older adults, it's not just unhealthy, it can be downright dangerous. Here's why. Swordfish are apex predators, meaning they sit at the very top of the marine food chain. They feed on smaller fish for years, sometimes decades. During that time, they accumulate massive amounts of mercury, a toxic heavy metal that builds up in their flesh to levels 20 to 30 times higher than smaller fish like sardines, anchovies, or trout. The FDA lists swordfish among the top 4 most mercury-contaminated fish in the world, right alongside shark, king mackerel, and tilefish. And for seniors, this matters more than ever. Mercury doesn't just affect your brain. It attacks the entire cardiovascular system. It damages the endothelium, the delicate inner lining of your arteries, making them stiff and less able to expand. It raises blood pressure. It increases oxidative stress, creating silent inflammation that thickens artery walls. And it disrupts brain signaling, causing symptoms like dizziness, memory lapses, and tremors, which many people mistake for normal aging. A study in the Journal of the American Heart Association found that adults with the highest blood mercury levels were 70% more likely to experience a stroke or heart attack than those with low levels. I once met a man named Robert, 71, who loved grilled swordfish steaks. He cooked them twice a week, thinking he was doing his heart a favor by avoiding red meat. But over time, he began feeling unusually fatigued, forgetful, and shaky. When his doctor ran tests, Robert's mercury levels were 4 times higher than normal. After cutting out swordfish completely, his symptoms gradually faded, proof that sometimes the most refined choices can be the most dangerous ones. Here's the critical truth. Mercury doesn't disappear overnight. Once it's in your system, it can take months, even years, for your body to clear it, especially as detoxification naturally slows with age. So if swordfish has been on your dinner rotation, it's time to make a smart switch. Avoid swordfish entirely, especially if you're over 60 or have a history of high blood pressure. Choose smaller, short-lived fish like sardines, anchovies, wild trout, or salmon. They're rich in omega-3s and naturally low in mercury. If you crave a meaty texture, go for mahi-mahi or Pacific halibut, both hearty, flavorful, and far safer for your arteries. And if you've eaten swordfish regularly for years, ask your doctor about a mercury test. A simple blood or hair analysis can reveal whether your levels are high. The bottom line is simple. Swordfish might look luxurious on your plate, but it's a toxic trap for your heart and brain. The same size and strength that make it king of the sea also make it one of the most mercury-laden foods you can eat. So next time you're at a restaurant and see grilled swordfish on the menu, remember, it's not worth the risk. Your heart, your memory, and your long-term vitality deserve better. Fish number 5, king mackerel, the omega-3 fish that quietly damages your brain and arteries. King mackerel sounds like royalty, rich, flavorful, and loaded with omega-3s. On paper, it looks like the perfect food for your heart, oily, high in good fats, and packed with protein. That's why so many seniors add it to their diet, believing it will keep cholesterol down and arteries clear. But here's the surprising truth. King mackerel carries omega-3s in one hand and mercury in the other. Behind its healthy reputation lies one of the most dangerous forms of contamination in the seafood world, methylmercury, a neurotoxin that builds up quietly in your body and can take months or years to leave. The reason is simple. King mackerel is a large, long-lived predator. It spends years feeding on smaller fish, slowly accumulating mercury with every bite. And by the time it lands on your plate, it's often one of the most mercury-dense fish in the ocean. So much so that the FDA officially advises older adults, pregnant women, and children to avoid it completely. For people over 60, this isn't just a number on a warning list. It's a matter of real, physical risk. Methylmercury attacks both the nervous system and the cardiovascular system at the same time. Here's what it does inside your body. It increases oxidative stress, inflaming and stiffening your arteries. It raises blood pressure and disrupts the natural rhythm of your heart. It interferes with neurotransmitters in your brain, leading to memory lapses, dizziness, and fatigue, symptoms many seniors mistakenly blame on aging. A 20-year study published in the New England Journal of Medicine found that adults with higher blood mercury levels were 70% more likely to suffer a stroke or heart attack. That's not a coincidence. It's a direct consequence of how these toxins damage the arteries over time. I remember one patient, Harold, 74, who began eating grilled mackerel twice a week after hearing it was good for cholesterol. Within a few months, he noticed brain fog, poor balance, and exhaustion. When his doctor tested his blood, Harold's mercury levels were 3 times above the safe limit. After switching to sardines and wild-caught salmon, his energy returned, and his focus improved within weeks. Now, here's where the confusion begins. Not all mackerel is bad. The king in king mackerel is the problem, a large, long-lived species that accumulates mercury. Smaller varieties, like Atlantic mackerel or Spanish mackerel, live shorter lives and have much lower contamination levels. So, if you love the taste of mackerel, here's how to enjoy it safely. Avoid king mackerel entirely, especially if you're over 60 or on blood pressure medication. Choose Atlantic or Spanish mackerel instead, smaller, safer, and still rich in omega-3s. Rotate your fish intake with sardines, anchovies, wild salmon, or trout. They deliver all the benefits without the toxic load. And for those who've eaten king mackerel regularly, ask your doctor about a simple mercury blood test. It can reveal your current risk and guide a safe detox plan. The bottom line is this. King mackerel might sound like the omega-3 powerhouse you've been told to eat. But in reality, it's a toxic imposter, one that quietly poisons the very systems you're trying to protect. So the next time you see king mackerel special on a restaurant menu, remember, you don't need a crown to protect your heart. You just need cleaner, smaller fish, nature's real guardians of longevity. Fish number 6, smoked fish, the salty trap that raises blood pressure overnight. There's something undeniably comforting about smoked fish. Whether it's smoked salmon on a morning bagel, smoked trout on toast, or herring served with crackers, it feels light, elegant, and healthy. After all, it's still fish, right? Unfortunately, what most people don't realize is that smoked fish can quietly raise your blood pressure overnight, turning a heart-healthy habit into a dangerous routine. Here's why. When fish is smoked, salt isn't just added for flavor, it's used as a preservative. That process floods the fish with sodium to prevent bacterial growth and enhance texture. The result? A small 3-ounce serving of smoked salmon, roughly the size of your palm, can contain 600 to 800 milligrams of sodium. That's nearly half your daily limit in just a few bites. Now imagine pairing it with soup for lunch or a sandwich for dinner. By the end of the day, you've easily doubled what your arteries can safely handle. For younger people, this might not cause immediate harm. But after 60, when blood vessels naturally stiffen and the kidneys filter salt less efficiently, that sodium overload becomes dangerous. It causes your body to retain water, increases blood volume, and puts immense pressure on artery walls. The result? Nighttime hypertension, a condition where your blood pressure stays high while you sleep, silently increasing your risk of stroke. But the story doesn't end there. The smoking process itself adds another layer of risk. When fish is exposed to high temperatures during smoking, it forms nitrites, nitrates, and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, PAHs, compounds linked to inflammation, oxidative stress, and even vascular damage when consumed regularly. A 2020 study in the Journal of Hypertension found that adults who ate high-sodium smoked or processed fish regularly had a 43% higher risk of developing hypertension and nearly double the risk of stroke compared to those who chose fresh fish. So, how can you enjoy fish without the salt overload? Here's your smarter strategy. Limit smoked fish to an occasional treat, not a daily habit. Always check sodium content. Some brands contain over 1,000 milligrams per serving. Rinse smoked fish in cold water for a few minutes before eating. It can remove part of the surface salt. Replace your usual smoked salmon with grilled or baked wild-caught salmon. And if you love that smoky flavor, use a few drops of liquid smoke or a dash of smoked paprika in your cooking. Your arteries won't know the difference. The bottom line is simple. Smoked fish isn't dangerous because it's fish. It's dangerous because of the salt and chemicals added during smoking. For seniors managing blood pressure, heart disease, or stroke risk, these small details matter enormously. So enjoy smoked fish occasionally, savor the flavor, but make sure your daily routine leans fresh, light, and low sodium. Because every meal can either heal your arteries or harden them. The choice, and the difference it makes, is in your hands. Fish number 7, fried fish and fish sticks. the comfort food that damages your arteries. Crispy, golden, comforting. That's how most of us remember fried fish. Whether it's a Friday night fish fry, a fast food sandwich, or those familiar fish sticks from the freezer aisle, it's a taste of home. It feels lighter than fried chicken or burgers. And somehow, we convince ourselves it must be healthier because it's fish. But here's the hard truth. Fried fish is one of the most dangerous ways to eat seafood, especially after 60. It's not the fish that's the problem, it's what frying does to it. When you drop that delicate fillet into hot oil, three harmful things happen almost instantly. The fish's heart-healthy omega-3 fats are destroyed by high heat. It absorbs trans fats and oxidized oils that inflame your arteries and raise bad cholesterol. The breading locks in refined carbs and excess sodium, turning your meal into a silent assault on your cardiovascular system. A landmark 20-year study published in the Journal of the American Heart Association followed over 100,000 adults and found that people who ate fried fish more than once a week had a 48% higher risk of stroke and a 37% higher risk of heart failure than those who ate it less than once a month. That's nearly half again the risk, from one seemingly innocent weekly habit. The reason? Fried oils, especially in restaurants or packaged fish sticks, are rarely changed often enough. They break down into toxic compounds that irritate the lining of your arteries, promote clot formation, and trigger inflammation. Even worse, most of these oils come from partially hydrogenated vegetable oil, the main source of industrial trans fats, which are now banned in many countries for being directly linked to cardiovascular disease. And the sodium content? It's staggering. A few pieces of fried fish or a serving of frozen fish sticks can contain over 600 milligrams of salt before you even add ketchup, tartar sauce, or fries. I once met a lovely couple, Bill and Susan, both in their 70s. Every Friday, they went to their local diner for their healthy tradition, fried fish dinners. Bill had borderline high cholesterol, and Susan's blood pressure was creeping up, but they thought the fish would help. Within 2 years, Bill had a minor stroke, and Susan's blood pressure reached 165/95. When they switched to baked and grilled fish, their numbers improved dramatically. Bill told me, "I wish I'd known it wasn't the fish hurting us. It was how we cooked it." That's the lesson we all need to remember. Frying transforms fish from medicine into a metabolic time bomb. But the good news is, you can keep the flavor and protect your heart. Here's how. Skip anything labeled crispy, breaded, or fried. Bake, grill, or steam your fish to preserve omega-3s and keep arteries flexible. If you miss the crunch, coat your fillet in almond flour, oats, or crushed flax seeds. Drizzle with olive oil and bake until golden. Avoid frozen breaded fish sticks, which are usually loaded with sodium, fillers, and damaged oils. Pair your meal with heart-loving sides, roasted vegetables, steamed greens, or sweet potato wedges. The bottom line: fried fish gives the illusion of eating healthy seafood, but once those oils oxidize, it behaves just like junk food inside your arteries. If you truly want to protect your heart, your brain, and your independence, ditch the fryer and rediscover how good clean cooking can feel. Because every time you choose baked over fried, you're not just making dinner. You're giving your heart one more reason to keep beating strong for years to come. Fish number 8, Atlantic cod. The clean, white fish that isn't so clean anymore. For decades, cod has been the poster child for healthy eating. It's light, lean, and versatile, the perfect fish for baking, broiling, or adding to chowders. Doctors once praised it as an ideal protein for older adults trying to eat less red meat. But here's what most people don't realize. The Atlantic cod sold in most supermarkets today isn't the same clean, wild fish your parents or grandparents once enjoyed. In fact, Much of it is now farmed or caught in polluted waters, and that has quietly changed everything. Let's start with pollution, the hidden danger of modern seafood. Because Atlantic cod are often raised or caught near heavily industrialized coastal zones, they can easily absorb heavy metals like mercury, cadmium, and lead, along with microplastics from contaminated oceans. Once these toxins enter your body, they don't leave quickly. They build up over time, damaging blood vessels, raising blood pressure, and promoting oxidative stress, one of the main triggers for stroke and heart disease. A study in the Marine Pollution Bulletin found that over 60% of Atlantic cod samples tested had heavy metal levels exceeding safe limits for frequent consumption, especially in older adults with slower detox systems. But toxins aren't the only problem. Because of overfishing, much of the Atlantic cod sold today is farmed, often in crowded pens where fish are fed artificial pellets made from corn, soy, and fish oil. This unnatural diet changes the fish's nutrition profile completely. Instead of being rich in heart-healthy omega-3 fats, farmed cod now contains higher levels of omega-6 fats that cause inflammation, more saturated fat, which can raise LDL cholesterol, and less protein density, meaning fewer nutrients per serving. To make matters worse, some farmed cod are treated with antibiotics and antifungal agents to control bacteria in the water, residues of which can end up in the fish itself. Over time, these chemicals strain your liver and interfere with your cardiovascular system's delicate balance. So, if you love cod, and many people do, here's how to make it a true ally for your health. Choose wild-caught Pacific cod, especially from Alaska, cleaner waters, higher omega-3s, and no antibiotics. Avoid Atlantic or farmed cod, especially frozen fillets labeled breaded, crispy, or pre-seasoned. When cooking, bake or steam instead of frying to preserve nutrients and prevent fat oxidation. If buying fresh, look for clear eyes, firm flesh, and a mild, ocean-like smell. That's how you know it's fresh. And if you take fish oil supplements, read the label carefully. Many are made from low-quality cod liver oil sourced from farmed fish. Always look for wild cod and cold water sourced. The bottom line is simple. Atlantic cod used to be a heart-healthy classic, but today's industrial version can do more harm than good. It may look clean and white on your plate, but inside it often carries pollutants and fats that quietly harm your arteries. If you truly want the benefits of white fish without the risk, stick to wild Pacific cod, haddock, or pollock. They're light, clean, and loaded with real heart protection, the kind your body recognizes and your arteries appreciate. Because purity still matters, especially when every heartbeat counts. Fish number 9. Catfish, the southern favorite that quietly hurts your heart. If you grew up in the South, chances are you have fond memories of crispy, golden catfish. Family picnics by the lake. Church fish fries on Fridays. That familiar crackle of cornmeal coating hitting the hot oil. It's more than a meal. It's tradition, nostalgia, and comfort on a plate. But here's the truth most people don't realize. Today's catfish isn't the same fish your parents or grandparents used to catch. The majority of catfish sold in America, whether fresh at the market or frozen in fillets, now comes from industrial fish farms, not rivers or natural ponds. And that difference changes everything about its nutrition, safety, and effect on your heart. Let's take a closer look at what really happens on modern catfish farms. In these crowded, shallow ponds, thousands of fish share the same limited space. Oxygen levels drop. Waste builds up. To keep the fish alive, farmers add chemicals, antibiotics, and antifungals to the water. The fish are also fed cheap pellets made from corn, soy, and animal byproducts, not the small crustaceans and insects they'd naturally eat in the wild. The result? A fish that grows fast, but loses its heart protective qualities. Compared to wild catfish, farmed catfish contain up to 4 times more omega-6 fats, which cause inflammation. Less omega-3, the very nutrient that protects your arteries. Higher levels of saturated fat that raise LDL cholesterol. Trace residues of antibiotics and pond chemicals. A study in the Journal of Food Composition and Analysis found that farmed catfish have an omega-6 to omega-3 ratio that can reach 4 to 1, an inflammatory profile strongly linked to high blood pressure, thicker arteries, and higher stroke risk. And here's something most people never hear about. Catfish farms, especially in the hot southern states, can accumulate ammonia and nitrites, toxic byproducts of fish waste. When consumed over time, these compounds contribute to oxidative stress and vascular inflammation, two of the main culprits behind heart disease. So, if you love catfish, and who doesn't, here's how to make it a part of your heart-safe diet. Avoid imported or farmed catfish, especially from Asia. These often contain higher levels of contaminants and antibiotics. Look for labels like wild-caught or U.S. farm-raised, antibiotic-free. Skip the deep fryer. Instead, bake, grill, or broil your catfish with olive oil and herbs. Pair your meal with potassium-rich vegetables, spinach, broccoli, or asparagus, to offset sodium and support healthy blood pressure. If you crave that crispy texture, coat your fish in almond flour, crushed oats, or cornmeal. Drizzle lightly with olive oil and bake until golden. Final conclusion. Now you've seen it. 9 types of fish that millions of older adults eat every single week, believing they're protecting their heart, when in fact, some of them may be silently doing the opposite. The truth is, not all seafood is created equal. Some fish, like wild salmon, sardines in water, trout, or anchovies, truly nourish your arteries, sharpen your mind, and keep your blood flowing smoothly. But others, packed with mercury, sodium, and industrial toxins, can quietly thicken your blood, raise your pressure, and set the stage for a stroke. After 60, your body changes. Your arteries become more sensitive. Your detox systems slow down. And the foods that once helped you might now hurt you without you even noticing. But here's the good news. You have the power to change that, starting with your next meal. By choosing cleaner, smaller, wild-caught fish. By limiting fried and processed seafood. By reading labels and questioning what's really in your can or fillet. You can lower your stroke risk, stabilize your blood pressure, and even boost your energy and memory in just a few weeks. Because it's not just about avoiding danger, it's about embracing vitality. It's about waking up clear-headed, strong, and ready to enjoy every moment with your loved ones, without fear, without fatigue, and without another hospital visit. Remember this simple rule. If it's wild, small, and clean, it heals. If it's farmed, fried, or salty, it harms. Every choice you make at the grocery store or dinner table is a small investment in your independence, your clarity, and your years ahead. So next time you reach for fish, pause and ask yourself, is this feeding my heart or fighting it? If today's guide helped you, please take one small step. Hit the like button to support this growing community. Subscribe to Ageless Vitality, where every video is designed to help you live longer, stronger, and sharper. And share this video with someone you love. Because knowledge like this doesn't just save lives, it extends them. Stay healthy, stay curious, and remember, your best years aren't behind you. They're the ones you're building right now.